Track 25. Witold, visiting his uncle, landowner Mroczkowski, becomes disgruntled with the backwardness of eastern Poland and decides to leave without notice to the nearest railway station. Witold's French in translation. In October 1927, I have been admitted to the Polytechnic Institute in Warsaw. My studies were going to last 5 years, 1927 till 1933. During my summer vacations, I traveled a lot, also to eastern parts of Poland. There was a great difference in the standard of living between western and eastern Poland. Since I got the opportunity of living in the west, therefore I felt lucky to have visited the east only as a tourist. On way of my travels, I have visited several times Tadeusz Mroczkowski of my family. He once, a rich landowner, possessed still a small farming property with peasants 14 kilometers away from the nearest town, Włodzimierz-Wołyński, today in the Ukraine. This little town presented a picture of poverty and despair. My uncle, in former glory, once a significant landowner, who once possessed a major hotel in Kiev, who once managed properties of Count Gagarin, now relatively poor still, liked to give an impression of his importance. He drove to church on Sundays in a coach driven by 4 white horses. This in contrast to his factual and intellectual misery. I remember once how on one side becoming disgusted with those surroundings and on the other longing after Mademoiselle Maria Piotrowska, I have decided abruptly to leave back to Bydgoszcz. This was already at dusk when Tadeusz Mroczkowski refused to accompany me to the railway station of Włodzimierz-Wołyński. He was quite sure that I was not going to have the courage to walk on foot during the night on a deserted road at this late hour. In fact, this was a risk of encountering bandits, and with this there was no possibility in this absolute desert to hope for any help. But I confirm that at that time I did not have any fear. Witold, French.
Dans l'obscurité complète, je marchais au milieu de la chaussée, étant pleine de trous et de bosses, qu'avait provoqué d'autant plus ma grande fatigue. Je faisais des efforts pour marcher sans bruit afin de ne pas être entendu, quoique ma valise à la poignée produisait un grincement, ce qui m'avait énervé fortement.
In translation. In complete darkness, I was marching on a bumpy dirt road full of holes, which all the more made me tired. I was making efforts to walk noiselessly in order not to be heard, although the handle of my suitcase was producing noises which made me worry tremendously. Witold, French.
J'avais espéré ne pas rencontrer âme qui vive, ce qui fut heureusement exaucé. Je n'oublierai jamais cette obscurité, la sauvagerie du pays primitif dépourvu de toute civilisation et non plus le silence.
In translation. I was hoping of not meeting a living soul, which was luckily the case. I will never forget this darkness and the wilderness of the primitive countryside, destitute of all civilization.
Absolument.
Witold, French.
Une seule fois, retentit un cri humain, strident, mais j'en fus quitte pour la peur, puisqu'il s'avéra que c'était le cri d'une chouette. Je m'étais caché à toute éventualité dans un fossé au flanc de la route. En somme, je marchais quelques heures. En tout cas, je me rappelle qu'étant arrivé à Włodzimierz-Wołyński, à une heure de la nuit, j'avais une grande soif. Et c'était la première chose que je fis, de me désaltérer en puisant de l'eau dans mon chapeau de forme d'étudiant d'un puits se trouvant sur la place principale de la bourgade, plongé en un profond sommeil.
In translation. One time sounded a shrilling sound of what I thought was a human voice. I became full of fear, and I hid in a ditch on the side of the road, but it was only a cry of an owl. In conclusion, I marched several hours. I remember entering Włodzimierz Wołyński at 1 a.m., and I became very thirsty, and the first thing I did, I filled my student's cap with water from a city pump in the main square of the sleeping town. Witold's French.
J'étais heureux quittant les parages entièrement étrangers d'après les goûts d'un homme épris de l'Ouest.
In translation. I was happy leaving localities completely foreign to me with my taste for the West. Witold's French.
Mais je suis content ayant connu ce sentiment lié au frisson qu'on a toujours face d'un manque de civilisation complète.
But I am glad getting to know the sentiment of shiver, thrill, which one becomes facing the lack of civilization.
Witold's French.
Je décris ici tellement en détail ce fragment de ma vie parce que j'ai voulu souligner fortement la grande misère des viveurs polonais de l'Est. Étant des propriétaires moyens, ils battaient la dèche.
In translation.
I have described here in detail this fragment of my life because I wanted to stress the great misery of Poles in their eastern part. Mostly small rural properties, far away from cities and industry, could hardly survive. Beginning with roads in a very poor shape, soft surfaces, transport frequently with broken axles, where minimum distances between towns amounted to 20 kilometers, and so on.
Witold's French
On peut crever de rire que des autorités polonaises d'alors rêvaient de posséder des colonies en Afrique, prétendant être comme une puissance. D'autre côté, je voulus bien souligner que la famille de Mrochka se présentait mentalement extraordinairement digne de considération.
in translation.
One could laugh when Polish authorities of the time, in the newly resurrected Poland, were dreaming of occupying colonies in far lands, pretending a great power status. But I also want to stress that the Mroczkowskis, with which we were affiliated with, and I have visited, were a noble and deserving a high appreciation family.